In the opening scene, an earth dragon emerges from the ground and attacks two travelers. Lacking any weapon or skill to defend themselves, the two travelers accept their fate and surrender to death. Fortunately, before the earth dragon can harm them, Tatsumi, who was traveling along that path to the capital, arrives and swiftly defeats the dragon. The two travelers approach Tatsumi to thank him for saving them, and Tatsumi expresses his pleasure in helping them. When asked about his destination, Tatsumi tells the travelers he is headed to the Imperial capital to make a name for himself. However, the travelers warn him about the unscrupulous people living in the capital. Despite this, Tatsumi remains undeterred, firmly believing in his will and determination to succeed. Unaware of the fate that awaits him within the capital's walls, Tatsumi continues his journey and finally arrives at the capital. Tatsumi's first impression of the capital is one of brightness and vibrancy. He goes to the barracks to register as a knight, but when he finds out he cannot immediately become a commanding officer, he causes a commotion and gets thrown out. As Tatsumi wallows in his despair, a blonde lady approaches him and comforts him. She then offers to show him how to make it big in the city, and in exchange, he buys her drinks. Naive Tatsumi takes her to the most expensive pub in town, where he buys her drinks and a good lunch. After the free meal, the blonde lady makes him another offer, helping him connect with someone in the military in exchange for money. Tatsumi gives her all the money he has and lets her leave. It is only later, when the pub closes, that Tatsumi realizes he has been deceived. Dejected, Tatsumi goes outside the pub and decides to sleep on the street. Later that night, a noble's daughter named Arya finds Tatsumi sleeping on the street. She stops her carriage and offers to take him to her mansion. Tatsumi follows her without hesitation and goes to her home. To Tatsumi's surprise, Arya's parents are quite welcoming towards him, a stranger. After thanking them for their hospitality, Arya's father asks Tatsumi about his purpose in the capital. Tatsumi explains that he had left his countryside home with two friends, Sayo and Ieyasu, with the intention of making a name for himself. Before their departure, the village elder had given Tatsumi an artifact for protection and bid them farewell. However, along the way, the three friends were attacked, and Tatsumi has been unable to find Sayo and Ieyasu since then. Arya's father promises to organize a search party to look for Tatsumi's missing friends. Grateful for their help, Tatsumi goes to sleep, feeling more content. The following day, Tatsumi accompanies Arya on a shopping trip with her guards. While waiting for Arya to finish her shopping, one of the guards explains the current state of the Imperial Palace to Tatsumi. The guard reveals that the reigning emperor is a child who serves as a figurehead, answering only to the nation's prime minister. Before Tatsumi can respond, the guard covers his mouth and tells him about the Night Raiders, a group of assassins dedicated to taking down the corrupt leaders in the Imperial city. After hearing this, Tatsumi returns to assisting Arya with her purchases. That night, the Night Raiders attack Arya's mansion. Around midnight, Tatsumi wakes up and rushes to the corridor after hearing a slash. Looking out the window, he sees that the mansion is under attack by the Night Raiders. Tatsumi is unsure of what to do as he watches the guards rush out to fight the raiders, who quickly overpower them. Realizing the raiders' strength, Tatsumi decides to protect Arya. He finds an exit and follows a trail to the back of the mansion, where he sees Arya and her entourage rushing towards a shed. Just then, one of the raiders, later identified as Akame, appears and takes out Arya's entourage. As Akame is about to kill Arya, Tatsumi steps in to stop her. Akame orders Tatsumi to step back so she can finish her task, but Tatsumi is determined to save Arya. At this point, the blonde girl from earlier, Leonie, shows up as a member of the assassin group. Akame then becomes serious about attacking Tatsumi. She strikes his chest, but the artifact given to him by the village elder protects him. Akame goes in for a second slash, but Leonie intervenes to stop her from killing Tatsumi. After the commotion dies down, Leone takes the initiative to show Tatsumi the true nature of his benefactors. She breaks down the door of the shed, revealing a grisly sight of people with dismembered body parts. Among them, Tatsumi finds one of his friends, Sayo, already hanged and dead, her body covered in blood. The other friend, Ieyasu, recognizes Tatsumi's voice and speaks to him from his dungeon cell. Arya tries to flee, but Leonie brings her back to face her crimes. Arya initially denies any knowledge of the shed, but is soon forced to confess. It becomes clear that she was jealous of the commoners who passed through the Imperial city. Enraged by the sight of his dead friends, Tatsumi turns on Arya and slashes her to death, avenging their deaths. Leonie and the other assassins are surprised by Tatsumi's resolve to kill Arya. At that moment, Ieyasu is freed from his cage, but he succumbs to his injuries. In his final moments, he makes Tatsumi promise to live a good life for himself and the others in the capital. As the assassins take their leave, Leone picks up Tatsumi and brings him along to their hideout, despite the protests of the other members. Tatsumi is eventually accepted and joins the Night Raiders. The following day, Tatsumi buries his two friends, Sayo and Ieyasu, in the grassy plains of the forest. While Tatsumi is paying his respects, Leonie appears and asks if he has decided to join them. Tatsumi is initially wary, fearing he might be deceived again by Leone. However, since he is now one of them, Leone gently pats his head and takes him back to the mansion to introduce him to the other assassins. At the mansion, Leone first introduces Tatsumi to Sheele, who is a gentle yet deadly member of the group, and serves as an aide to Mine, the sassy and teasing one. Next, Leone takes Tatsumi to meet Bulat, the strong and muscular member who has a fondness for boys, which makes Tatsumi feel a bit uncomfortable. Finally, Leone introduces Tatsumi to Lubbock, the perverted member who is caught checking out the bathing girls. Leone disciplines Lubbock and then takes Tatsumi to meet Akame, the most deadly member of the group. Tatsumi is shocked to see the massive fish Akame is eating by the fire. As they discuss the situation, the boss of the Night Raiders returns from his trip. He scolds Leone for acting out of order and makes her beg for his forgiveness. The boss then asks about the new recruit, Tatsumi, and Leone explains that they are looking to train him. The boss calls an emergency meeting to discuss the new developments. He asks Tatsumi about his reasons for joining their group, and Tatsumi mentions a few things that conflict with their mission and vision. However, the boss manages to convince Tatsumi to join the Night Raid group. By the end of the meeting, Tatsumi has a renewed conviction for success. Before Tatsumi gets too excited, the boss explains the risks of joining their group. If any of them are caught and executed on the job, there is nothing they can do to save them. However, if they succeed, they can restore the nation to its former glory. Tatsumi nods in agreement and agrees to join the Night Raid, as long as his village is compensated for the trouble. Now the focus shifts to training their newest member, Tatsumi. The first person he will be training with is Akame, who is in charge of the cooking in the house. The very next day, Tatsumi joins Akame in the kitchen to cook for the entire family. Once he's done, Mean teases him a little before leaving. Next, Akame takes Tatsumi fishing in a nearby pond. At the pond, Akame removes her clothing and dives into the water to catch the fish by hand. She teaches Tatsumi her methods and encourages him to dive in and catch the fish as well. That night, Tatsumi manages to catch 2 river tuna and prepares a wonderful lunch for the family. During the lunch, the boss presents a new case to the group. It turns out there is an unjust oil merchant named Gamal who works with a powerful soldier known as the Ogre. The two are known for framing innocent people and killing them in public. The wife of one of their victims has hired the Night Raiders to take out the 2 criminals. Since Akame, Bulat, Mine, and Sheele's faces are already on wanted posters, Tatsumi will have to accompany them on this mission. Tatsumi thanks the boss for the opportunity and promises to deliver justice to the Ogre and his minion. The boss accepts his gratitude and allows Tatsumi to prepare for his first mission. Before leaving, Akame warns Tatsumi never to get too cocky before a mission, as it could get him killed. On their way to the capital, Leone tells Tatsumi more about Akame's background. She explains that when Akame was younger, she and her friends were captured and trained as assassins focused on survival. Akame met the Night Raiders boss on one of her missions and was recruited to join their group. Hearing this, Tatsumi finally understands the reasoning behind Akame's behavior towards him. The group splits up, with Leone and Akame taking out the oil merchant, while Tatsumi is tasked with isolating the army commander, Ogre. Tatsumi initially appears as a helpless recruit seeking a spot in the military, but when Ogre turns his back, Tatsumi strikes and lands a blow on him. Thinking he has won, Tatsumi is shocked when Ogre suddenly wakes up and hits him on the head. The real fight then begins, and Tatsumi fights for his life in the first half. Ogre continues to insult the souls of the people he has killed, angering Tatsumi. Tatsumi then jumps high into the sky and defeats Ogre once and for all. Tatsumi returns home with pride and boasts about his victory to Akame. Akame then strips him open and smiles when she finds that he is unharmed. Tatsumi is surprised to see Akame opening up to him, and he reciprocates by opening up to her as well. Leone, as usual, teases Tatsumi, leaving him feeling embarrassed and his entire body turning pink. A few days later, another mission comes in, and the boss sends all the assassins after the enemy, who are suspected to be a group of assassins themselves. The enemy escapes through the forest, and along the way, Bulat puts on his Imperial arm relic, Incursio, and shows off to Tatsumi before continuing the pursuit. In another part of the forest, Akame faces 3 of the enemy assassins who underestimate her. She quickly defeats them with her cursed blade and heads back to the group. Nearby, Mine uses her Imperial arm weapon to take out the fleeing assassins from a distance, while Leone assists with her feral abilities. Lubbock takes down the female assassin with his wires and then moves on. Bulat, meanwhile, is attacked by a group of assassins, but his incredible speed and skill with the lance allow him to take them all out at once. After the mission, the assassins return to their hideout. That night, Tatsumi wakes up and ponders about the wonderful group he has joined. He briefly thinks about Bulat's face, quickly dismissing any weird thoughts, and then reflects on the promises he made to his deceased friends. The next morning, Tatsumi goes searching for Mine, finding Sheele and another assassin first. He asks them for Mine's room, as she is not a morning person, and decides to wake her up himself. Tatsumi enters Mine's room without knocking, and is surprised to find her dressing up. She shouts in embarrassment and shoots at him, but Tatsumi manages to dodge the attack. He apologizes for the intrusion, and the commotion wakes the others up. Later, Mine gets dressed and goes to town with Tatsumi. As they stroll the streets, Tatsumi finally realizes the true state of the capital, seeing many unhappy people searching for a better life. He discusses this with Mine. As they continue walking, they spot two bullies harassing a young girl in an alleyway. Mine chases the bullies away and continues on with Tatsumi. Along the way, they come across wanted posters of some of the other night raid assassins, and Tatsumi is surprised to see Bulat's picture before he joined them. The pair then head to a restaurant for a light lunch. At one point, Tatsumi disrespects Mine, and she responds by beating him up. Once she's done, Mine gets serious and reminds Tatsumi of his inexperience. Tatsumi acknowledges this but declares that he is not giving up. Suddenly, they notice a crowd gathering in the public square to witness an execution. Tatsumi and Mine join the crowd, and they are both reminded of their previous experiences with such gory public executions. Unbeknownst to Tatsumi and Mine, the young emperor is about to sentence another person to death for defying his orders, despite warnings from his subordinates. The prime minister, a gluttonous man, reminds the emperor to execute the man without any regrets. After passing the judgment, the prime minister approaches the condemned man and promises to take care of his beautiful wife while he is gone. Tatsumi and Mine return to the night raid hideout to find they have been given a new mission to target Isokal, one of the prime minister's distant relatives. That night, Tatsumi, Mine, and a few others head out to Isokal's mansion. Mine sets up her Imperial arm sniper rifle and takes a fatal shot, killing Isokal. On their way back, they consider taking down the guards, but decide against it since the guards were trained in the capital's martial arts. Mine shares her backstory and resolve with Tatsumi to fight to restore her country to its former state and live off the money she earns. When they reach the meeting point, they find no one there. Suddenly, one of Isokal's guards arrives and challenges them. Mine uses her gun, but the guard dodges it. Tatsumi holds the guard in place, allowing Mine to land a fatal shot, killing the guard instantly. After dealing with the guard, they return to the hideout. Meanwhile, deep in the city's dark places, an assassin named Zank, wielding an Imperial arm, sets out in the dead of night to hunt his victims. That night, Zank the assassin targets a couple, a lady and her husband. The lady and her husband beg Zank to spare their lives, but Zank cruelly suspends the lady's head in the air and asks her to talk to him if he frees her. When the lady promises to do so, Zank still rips her head off her body, laughing maniacally. The next day, Tatsumi wakes up early to train with Bulat, who teaches him the proper form for wielding a sword. After breakfast, Tatsumi observes how quickly Akame eats. Meanwhile, the boss is seen with a fatally injured soldier by the river. Before the soldier dies, he hands the boss a list of people who have pledged their assistance to the revolt. The boss collects the note and allows the soldier to rest in peace. During the nightly meeting, the boss informs the group about the serial killer beheading people every night. They identify the killer as Zank, the former Imperial executioner who acquired an Imperial arm and has been on a rampage. When Tatsumi makes a funny face, the others tease him. He then asks about the origin of the Imperial relics he has been hearing about. The boss tells him the history behind the Imperial relics. It started about 1,000 years ago, when the creator of their current empire was worried about protecting his new nation. He was afraid of the risks of his nation falling into the wrong hands. Since he can't rule forever, he had to find a way to ensure the people can fight these bad rulers when they come. After years of thinking, he came up with the idea to create weapons with the wisdom of 1,000 blacksmiths and magicians. The emperor then called all the best blacksmiths from around the world to create 48 Imperial relics. He gave each relic to a retainer to watch over them. Time passed, and there was peace. However, 500 years ago, during the Civil War, about half of the relics were stolen and scattered around the continent. The assassins were able to recover a relic for themselves, giving them power that can rival 1,000 men. After the history lesson, each assassin introduces their relic. Akame's Imperial relic is the cursed sword, Murasame, that poisons any surface it cuts. No antidote has been found for the sword. Leon's belt, the beast ruler, grants its wearer the strength and senses of a beast in combat. Mine's spirit artillery pumpkin is powered by its user's fighting spirit and can deal serious long-range damage. The power output of this weapon increases as the user faces more dangerous situations. Bulat's Imperial relic is the demonic armor, Incursio. Incursio grants absolute defense to its wearer. Sheele's relic is the absolute bisector, Extace. Jub's relic is the wire of many uses, Crosstail. When two relic users face each other, one person must die. This means that if one of them faces Zank, they better win, or else they die. Tatsumi gets a little scared, but his colleagues reassure him. Tatsumi then realizes how strong his colleagues are. He asks the boss about his Imperial relic, but the boss tells him not to worry. He'll find one that suits his fighting style one day. Later that night, Akame and Tatsumi sneak around the city, searching for Zank. Akame complains about handling her cursed sword, Murasame, as there's no antidote to the poison. Unbeknownst to them, Zank had already used his Imperial relic to find them. He decides to abduct the weakest of them, Tatsumi. Tatsumi sees an apparition of Sayo and follows her to the top of a tower. There, Zank reveals his Imperial relic, a forehead protector that can read minds and see people from a distance. Tatsumi knows he has to hold Zank off to buy time for Akame to find him. Annoyed, Tatsumi attacks Zank with all his might, but he's not strong enough to take down the powerful Zank. Tatsumi keeps fighting and shouts loudly for Akame to hear him. Zank urges Tatsumi to beg for his life, but Tatsumi powers up and attacks Zank in one strike. However, Zank hits Tatsumi on the back. Akame arrives just in time to stop Zank. Zank uses his protector's power to read Akame's body for hidden weapons, but he doesn't find any. Akame fights Zank for a few minutes, then realizes his superpower. She clears her mind of thoughts, but Zank reads her emotions and uses them against her. At an impasse, Zank asks Akame if she still hears the voices of the people she's killed. Akame tells him she doesn't. Zank uses his power to show Akame an apparition of her old friend, but Akame quickly snaps out of it and slashes Zank in the chest. Zank is surprised and asks Akame why she snapped out of it. Akame tells him that if the apparition was her friend, she would still kill her. Akame grants Zank the death he's wanted and frees him from the terror of the voices. The next day, Akame visits Tatsumi and urges him to get back to training. The next morning, Tatsumi has a weird dream where Sayo and Ieyasu have left in the hands of his new friends. Tatsumi wakes up and finds his new master, Sheele, sleeping near him. He watches the clumsy girl drop her glasses and fumble around to say hi to him, making him wonder what her special ability is. Tatsumi gets up to begin his mission. At breakfast, the others worry about Sheele being paired with the troublesome Tatsumi. Their boss tries to make a weird joke, but it just grosses them out. They all tease Jub and continue with their day. For the first training session, Tatsumi has to swim in heavy armor. After he passes the test, Sheele tells him she can't concentrate on what training to give him since she has no job. She explains that she flunked every job she's tried to get in the house due to her clumsy nature. Tatsumi asks Sheele why he didn't see her with the others at the end of the first mission, but Sheele just can't explain it. She fumbles and fumbles again. Tatsumi helps her and asks for her own story, learning that Sheele has always been a clumsy girl by nature. Sheele's clumsiness made everybody look down on her. She lost her way in life, with nothing to take pride in. Sometimes, she would act out of place just to get noticed. One night, Sheele met a lady who took interest in her. They became best friends and did things together. But one night, the lady's ex-boyfriend came over drunk and threatened to kill her. Without thinking, Sheele killed the man. Her friend was scared, but it was ruled as self-defense. After being released, the man's friend came for revenge. Sheele kept her cool and killed all the men. That's when she realized her purpose was to free the city of the garbage that plagued it. Tatsumi gets worried and sorry for Sheele, but she tells him not to worry. That evening, everyone gathers to watch Tatsumi try on Zank's forehead protector Imperial relic. Tatsumi activates it and uses it to see through the girl's clothes, but the relic rejects him. They send it to the lab for more research. The boss gives Tatsumi a book with details of all the relics. Tatsumi asks about the strongest one, and the boss says it's the relic that controls ice. The user, Hiro Numa Seika, is a strong warrior conquering lands in the north to retake the capital from the destructive prime minister. As a preventive measure, the empire had set out to invade the north before Hiro Numa Seika could retake the capital. Tatsumi assures his boss they will find all the relics and use them to revive his dead friends. But Bulat stops him, explaining there is no relic that can bring back the dead. If such power existed, the emperor who created the relics would still be alive. This news deals a huge blow to Tatsumi. He revisits his friend's grave, and Sheele catches him shedding tears. She hugs him and urges Tatsumi to cry more to let his troubles go. Tatsumi thanks Sheele and cries softly in her arms. Meanwhile, in the north, the leader of the Empire's army, Esdeath, defeats the hero holding the ice relic. She forces him to lick her feet naked, then kills him, searching for an enemy strong enough to satisfy her urge to kill. The following day, Leone takes Tatsumi to the slums where she grew up. As they pass through the busy slums, everyone recognizes and greets Leone, including people she scammed in the past. Meanwhile, an emissary reports to the Emperor that Generals Nakakito and Hemi have defected to the Revolutionary Army. The Emperor urges them to stay calm and wait for the defectors to make a mistake so they can take them down. The Prime Minister then mentions their more imminent problem, the Night Raider group. He suggests letting Esdeath, who has taken care of the northern threat, return to deal with the Night Raiders. Tatsumi gets separated from Leone and searches the streets. He comes across Seryu and her Imperial relic, Hecaton Cheer, which is known to harm those who do evil. Seryu offers to help Tatsumi find his way back, holding his hand and asking for details. Tatsumi asks about Seryu's relic, and she explains that she's the only one the relic can cope with. Seryu takes Tatsumi back to the capital and rushes to her office. On the way, she remembers her former boss and vows revenge on the person or group that killed him. That night, Leone and Tatsumi visit the red light district to take down some drug bosses who kidnap women. Leone activates her belt's power, carries Tatsumi, and jumps to the building of interest. They hide in the ceiling and Tatsumi sees the captive women being mistreated. Seeing this, Leone and Tatsumi decide to put an end to the injustice. They burst into the room and quickly take out the old men and their terrible sons. The men beg for their lives, but Leone refuses to spare them. After rescuing the women, Leone and Tatsumi head back home. Tatsumi asks what will happen to the rescued women, and Leone tells him they'll be taken to a doctor in the countryside. On their way back, Mine and Sheele run into Seryu, who recognizes them as Night Raider members. Seryu vows to make their deaths quick and seamless, refusing to back down despite the girl's attempts to ease her. Mine attacks first with her artillery, but Seryu's Imperial relic, Hecaton Cheer, blocks the attack. Seryu's Imperial relic, Hecaton Cheer, grows bigger and attacks Sheele. Sheele uses her blade relic to block the attacks. Mine shoots a hole in the dog's side, but it immediately regenerates. Mine realizes the dog has a core that enables it to regenerate. Before they can figure out how to destroy the core, Sheele orders the dog to regenerate arms and attack. Seryu blows her whistle for reinforcements while holding off the two girls. Sheele takes advantage of the commotion to use her hidden ability, Exdeath, which causes her sword to shine a bright light and attack at amazing speeds. Sheele chases Seryu to the forest and cuts off both her arms. Seryu tricks Sheele into thinking she's unarmed, then materializes guns from her cut arms and shoots at Sheele. Sheele blocks the attacks and cuts the guns off. Seryu then orders her dog, Koro, to grow bigger and turn into a wolf to get stronger. Koro captures Mine to crush her, but before it can do so, Sheele cuts the hand and frees Mine. Sheele lets her guard down for a second, and Seryu shoots her with a mouthgun. Koro grows another hand and bites Sheele in half, killing her. Enraged, Mine moves to attack Seryu, but the reinforcements arrive. As a final gift, Sheele uses her Exdeath ability to release a blinding light, allowing Mine to escape. As Mine races back to the hideout, she promises to never forget Sheele. In her final moments, Sheele reflects on the love and care she received from the Night Raiders, wishing she could be with them one more time. Seryu lets out a maniacal laugh and names herself the Ambassador of Justice after Sheele's death. When Mine returns, she reveals the sad news, bringing sadness to the group. Tatsumi gets emotional and urges Mine to go after Sheele's killer, but the boss can't sanction such an operation out of emotion. That night, Tatsumi returns to his friend's grave and recalls his moments with Sheele, clenching his fists and becoming more determined to end the Prime Minister. By dawn, Esdeath returns to the Imperial capital as the proud owner and user of the Ice Controller Imperial relic. After arriving at the capital, Esdeath presents herself to the young Emperor. The Emperor and Prime Minister receive her well and grant her 10,000 gold pieces as a reward for her efforts in the Northern Ice battle. However, Esdeath wants more than just the gold. She tells the rulers that she wants to fall in love. The Prime Minister suggests granting her wish, as she has no intent to usurp the throne. The Emperor promises to do something about Esdeath's request. Before leaving, Esdeath hands them a list of qualities she wants in her ideal man. He should be strong, easily controllable, and have a sweet, innocent smile. Back at the hideout, Tatsumi is doing the dishes while Akame helps Mine eat. Tatsumi thinks about Sheele's killer, Seryu, wishing he had killed her when he had the chance. At the palace, Esdeath and the Prime Minister discuss the qualities she wants in a man. The Prime Minister promises to find her type of man, even though most of the requirements seem outrageous. After meeting with the Prime Minister, Esdeath meets with 3 members of her new secret squad, relic users who pledge their loyalty to her and promise to hunt down the Night Raiders. Late at night, Tatsumi finds Akame holding a plate of Sheele's favorite midnight snack. He commends Akame for keeping her composure despite losing a loved one, but Akame breaks the plate and starts crying, admitting she's been holding back her emotions for the sake of the mission. Tatsumi becomes disappointed in himself for thinking less of Akame. He punches himself, but Akame checks to make sure he's okay. Tatsumi then promises Akame to avenge Sheele's death in due time. Leone, who was eavesdropping, smiles at the new, more determined Tatsumi. The next morning, Tatsumi trains hard with Akame as his teacher. After getting hit a few times, he asks for another session. Bulat then comes in and punches Tatsumi to the ground, appreciating his determination but warning him to keep an eye on his surroundings. Bulat decides to train Tatsumi himself, picking up his pole and sparring seriously with Tatsumi. Meanwhile, far away in the northern state, a politician and his daughter are riding in a carriage. The politician condemns the Prime Minister and promises to get to the capital to fight him, but their time has come. The 3 assassins from Esdeath show up, kill the guards, the daughter, and the politician. Afterward, they spread flyers around to make it seem like the Night Raiders did it. The boss arranges a meeting with the Night Raiders. He orders Leone to go spy on Esdeath in the capital, warning her to be careful of the legendary warrior. The boss then shows them the flyers that make it seem like the Night Raiders killed some politicians. He explains that these politicians are the only ones keeping the capital stable, so they need to stop the indiscriminate targeting. The boss has narrowed down the 3 assassins' next possible targets to 2 politicians. He creates two teams, Akame and Lub, Tatsumi and Bulat, to guard the politicians in pairs. On the mission, Bulat and Tatsumi find the first politician on a large cruise ship. Bulat makes himself invisible with his Incursio armor and smacks Tatsumi when he starts slacking off. Bulat discusses how he used to fight alongside a general named Liver, who was wrongfully accused and imprisoned. Bulat goes to investigate the inner parts of the ship, while Tatsumi continues to blend in. At one point, Tatsumi hears a flute playing in the distance but thinks nothing of it. Elsewhere, Leone spies on Esdeath but senses a trap, so she leaves her spot. Meanwhile, on the cruise ship, the effect of the flute music causes the passengers to collapse, but Tatsumi manages to stay awake. As he walks to the deck, one of the assassins with the Imperial relic, Belvark, attacks him. Bulat arrives just in time to protect Tatsumi. He activates his own Imperial relic, Incursio, and fights off all three assassins. After injuring two of them, Bulat realizes that one of the assassins is the General Liver, whom he used to fight alongside. Bulat asks Liver for an explanation, but Liver says he was saved from certain death by General Esdeath, and his loyalty has shifted. Bulat decides he must complete the mission, even if it costs him his life. Liver removes his glove to reveal his Imperial relic, Black Marlin, which can control water. Given they're on a ship, the fight should be fair for both of them. Liver creates a water cannon, which Bulat blocks. The flute guy wakes up and tries to attack Bulat, but Tatsumi arrives to stop him. The flute guy evades Tatsumi's attacks, but his wound prevents him from showing his full strength. Liver then summons the Ravine Serpent and sends it towards Bulat. While Tatsumi and the flute guy fight, Bulat slices through the serpent and floats in the air. Liver attacks him, breaking his helmet's face, but it's not enough to defeat Bulat. Liver summons a real water dragon and directs it at Bulat. Bulat suspends himself in the air, waiting for the right time to strike, but the flute guy gets in his way, so Bulat pauses his attack and lands safely. Bulat finds Tatsumi in pain and apologizing for his weakness. Bulat removes his Incursio armor and rests. Liver gloats about his win, but Bulat reminds him that the techniques he's been using have taken a toll on his body. Liver tries to get Bulat to join Esdeath's army, but Bulat refuses. Liver tells Bulat the benefits of joining Esdeath's powerful army, but Bulat is still not interested. They decide to settle things without their Imperial relics. Liver injects a strength-boosting substance into his body before the fight. Bulat takes out his sword, and they fight to the death. Bulat manages to slice Liver and push him to the ground. But as Liver falls, he uses his hidden ability to turn his blood into tiny pincers that attack Bulat at high speed. Some of them pierce Bulat's body, and Liver dies. Before his death, Liver reveals that Esdeath had promised to make him happy if he joined her army. He also reveals that the strength booster was a poison that has now affected Bulat's blood. Moments before his death, Bulat shows Tatsumi their final enemy, the flute guy. The flute guy approaches them and uses his trump card to buff up his body. Tatsumi faces him without an Imperial weapon, but Bulat passes the Incursio armor key to Tatsumi and urges him to use it. The flute guy tries to talk Tatsumi out of using it, but Bulat gets up and punches Tatsumi for allowing the enemy to tell him what to do. Bulat gives Tatsumi some motivational words, asking him to believe in himself. Tatsumi decides to take a leap of faith and activates the Incursio armor. As Tatsumi screams Incursio, the real danger beast that was transformed into the armor, a dragon tyrant, shows up and merges with Tatsumi's body, making him more powerful. Tatsumi then attacks the flute guy, punching him into the wall and killing him. Bulat gives Tatsumi a final smile before closing his eyes and passing away. Tatsumi cries over the loss of his second teammate. Later that evening, Akame's sister, Kurome, is seen eating snacks over a pile of dead bodies. One of her people tells her she's been summoned to the capital by General Esdeath. The next day, Mine takes a bath in the river near the hideout, regaining her strength to hunt and kill her friend's killer. She then returns to the mansion and asks someone to train her. At the training ground, Mine finds Lub and Tatsumi doing push-ups with the ladies sitting on their backs. Leone teases Lub for doing fewer push-ups than Tatsumi, and Akame makes a joke that gets her smacked by Leone. Just then, their boss arrives, revealing that she's a woman dressed as a man to be taken seriously as a war general. She explains her mission: to gather the relics from the fallen assassins and travel south to recruit new members for the Night Raiders. Tatsumi complains about the heavy cleavers, but the boss says it's no match for her strength. Before leaving, the boss commends Tatsumi for holding his ground against the powerful assassins, even though they lost Bulat. She lets Tatsumi know about Bulat's thoughts of him before leaving to find more assassins to join the Night Raiders. Elsewhere, Esdeath says her final goodbyes to her 3 former assassins and leaves to search for more powerful comrades for her secret anti-Night Raiders force. Just outside the capital's gates, a country hick named Wave arrives, carrying a bag of freshly caught fish. He makes his way to the palace and finds the conference room, where he meets his new comrades. Wave is surprised to find a strange masked guy staring at him. Soon, Kurome shows up, snacking as usual, and shoos wave away when he tries to speak to her. Seryu then arrives with her dog, Koro, and another flamboyant guy named Stylish introduces himself. When the only normal person, Run, arrives, Wave becomes infatuated, holding his hands like a little girl. Once everyone is present, the masked guy named Bowles gets up and prepares tea for everyone. He introduces himself as a shy person from the notorious Incineration Squad. Suddenly, Esdeath, wearing a mask, shows up and attacks everyone in the room. Kurome is the only one who manages to break her mask, and they all stop attacking when they see Esdeath's face. Esdeath takes her new squad members, whom she names Jaeger, on a tour of the palace and explains their mission. She then treats them to a fish dinner, where Bowles and Wave do the cooking. Esdeath explains her next objective is to find love. Seryu tells her about Sheele's relic, which no one is currently strong enough to wield. Esdeath suggests hosting a tournament to find someone capable of using the powerful weapon. Tatsumi visits the secret hideout in the capital's bookstore, where he meets Leon and Lub. They discuss their new enemy, Esdeath, who used to be close to their boss, Najenda. Najenda and Esdeath were sent to take out a rebel tribe in the mountains. Esdeath turned the entire body of water to ice, and they defeated most of the tribe. Esdeath even made some of them live and breed more rebels for her to fight in the future. The Prime Minister and the young Emperor read Esdeath's list of qualities for a man, and they arrange a matchup for her to find a suitable partner. Tatsumi faces a muscular bully with a goat-like head and easily defeats him, impressing Esdeath. She immediately attaches a collar to Tatsumi's neck and drags him to her quarters, knocking him out. The night raid group is informed, and they make a plan to save Tatsumi from Esdeath's clutches. By nightfall, Esdeath takes Tatsumi on the Jaeger squad's first mission. While Esdeath and Tatsumi stay behind, the others show off the powers of their Imperial relics, slashing, cutting, and burning everything in their path. Tatsumi is surprised by their destructive capabilities. After the mission, Esdeath promises to train Tatsumi herself and admits her weird feelings, hoping they can make it work. Tatsumi decides to ask Esdeath to join the Night Raiders, but she refuses. Later in Esdeath's quarters, Tatsumi tries to ask Esdeath the question, but she kisses him and pins him to the bed. Tatsumi stops her and asks the question, but Esdeath slaps him and reassures him that she'll always be there for him and his family. Tatsumi tries to manipulate Esdeath's love for him, but she refuses to cave in. She politely asks Tatsumi to stop talking about rebelling and join her in bed instead. When Tatsumi tries to escape, Esdeath warns him not to do anything stupid. Tatsumi returns to bed and sleeps with Esdeath. Before sleeping, Esdeath recalls her earlier meeting with the Jaeger team. She had chained Tatsumi to a chair and introduced him as her lover, asking the team for advice on how to make Tatsumi fall in love with her. Surprisingly, the shy Bowles admits he's been married for 6 years and advises Esdeath to remain persistent. The next day, a sleep-deprived Tatsumi joins Wave and Kurome for breakfast. He notices Kurome has a similar vibe to Akame and asks her about it. Kurome tells him she's related to Akame and can't wait to cut her up. Esdeath then invites Tatsumi to hunt a dangerous beast at Fake Mountain, planning to impress him with her strength. She sends Wave to scout the west side with Tatsumi, while she and Kurome take the east side. As Wave and Tatsumi make their way up Fake Mountain, Wave mentions his experiences with girls. Tatsumi then takes out his sword, but he's actually just using it to take down some tree gump monsters. Tatsumi then escapes using the Incursio armor. When Wave realizes Tatsumi has escaped, he summons his own Imperial relic, Grand Chariot, an armor just like Incursio, and catches up to Tatsumi. Thinking Tatsumi is just another Night Raider, Wave attacks him. Tatsumi escapes and swims ashore, where a dangerous beast appears. Akame arrives just in time to save Tatsumi, killing the beast. She welcomes Tatsumi back to the group, and Lub shows up to lead them to the new hideout. After punishing, Esdeath dismisses him, hoping he won't do such a thing again. The other Jaeger team members arrive and ask Esdeath what to do if they find Tatsumi, as he may be the enemy. Esdeath orders them to quell the enemy, but deep down, she wishes to be reunited with Tatsumi. At the Night Raid hideout, Tatsumi explains to his colleagues how strong Esdeath is. Akame promises to beat her as long as she has a beating heart. That night, Stylish uses his genetically modified humans to track Tatsumi's location at the Night Raid hideout and calls for backup. In the Night Raid hideout, the members are sleeping after celebrating Tatsumi's return. Leone wakes up at night and is attacked by one of the Jagers. Stylish then launches an all-out attack on the Night Raiders. Lub tries to alert the others but is confronted by one of Stylish's genetically modified humans. Lub fights back and is eventually saved by Akame, who finishes off the enemies. Tatsumi, in his Incursio armor, breaks through the wall to face Kaku-san, who has been granted Sheele's relic. Tatsumi attacks Kaku-san, but the enemy uses the scissor blade to partially immobilize Tatsumi's armor. Tatsumi tries to recover Sheele's weapon, but Kaku-san refuses to give it back. Suddenly Mine arrives and uses her artillery relic to rip Kaku-san to shreds. She then recovers Sheele's relic with tears in her eyes. As the battle rages on, a dangerous air manta beast appears, and Najenda is seen riding it with two disguised people. She welcomes the new recruits to the Night Raiders. Akame manages to cut off an arm from her enemy, and Lub helps finish him off. Meanwhile, another enemy sneaks up on Mine, but Leone arrives and takes him down. With the Night Raiders reunited, they prepare to fight the remaining enemies. However, Stylish has managed to inject a poison that makes everyone except Tatsumi in his Incursio armor faint. Just as the situation looks dire, one of the new recruits, a humanoid living relic, shows up and starts destroying the enemies. Stylish tries to take him out with a secret bomb, but the recruit regenerates and waits for Najenda's orders. Najenda spots Stylish and his people, and they make a run for it. Stylish tries to think of a way to take down the humanoid relic recruit, but it's too late, and the recruit captures him. Stylish injects himself with a poisonous substance, transforming into a giant muscular figure. He challenges anyone to face him, and Tatsumi, Akame, and Mine join the fight. They try to slice and shoot the giant, but his armor is too strong. Tatsumi then takes Akame to the monster's head, and Akame uses her poison to eliminate Stylish. With Stylish gone, Akame and Tatsumi reunite with the rest of the Night Raiders on the Air Manta to find a new hideout. The Air Manta flies Tatsumi and the Night Raiders to the Marg Highlands, which Najenda says is a good hideout location due to the high-level danger beasts in the area. Najenda introduces the two new recruits, Chelsea, a talented assassin and master of disguise, and Suzanu, Sue, an Imperial relic who is a perfect bodyguard. The others are a bit disappointed by Sue's abilities, but Najenda says he will be convenient. Back in the capital, Esdeath is worried about Tatsumi and goes to check on Seryu, who is grieving the loss of Stylish. Esdeath hugs Seryu tightly and promises to bring the Night Raiders to justice. Wave tries to comfort Seryu, but finds Esdeath has beaten him to it. After dinner, Najenda rallies the Night Raiders and urges them to train hard, despite being short on manpower. Everyone agrees. The next day, Sue takes Akame fishing, and they catch a big haul. The team enjoys the delicious dinner Sue and Akame prepare. Najenda tells them she reactivated the dormant Sue at the Revolution camp. Meanwhile, Mine is eating cake when a cat walks in and asks for some. When Mine gives it, the cat transforms into Chelsea, revealing her Imperial relic that allows her to transform into anything. Mine gets upset and promises to get back at Chelsea. The next day, the Night Raiders, including Tatsumi in his Incursio armor, head out to take down some danger beasts and claim more territory. Leone spots the leader of the danger beasts and kills it, claiming the land. Najenda commends the team's progress, then turns to Chelsea, who explains that while they are strong, they are also too hot-headed and might end up like their fallen comrades if they don't change. That night, Mine makes a plan with the boys to teach Chelsea a lesson for insulting their pride. Tatsumi tries to talk Mine out of it, but she is determined to go through with it. After Mine leaves, Lub comes up with a plan to prank Chelsea while she's bathing. Tatsumi, in his Incursio armor, tries to sneak up on her, but Chelsea, who can transform into Sue, catches him. Chelsea reveals her true self and smacks Tatsumi, warning him not to try such a stunt again. Tatsumi apologizes, and Chelsea opens up, explaining that she lost all her previous teammates and doesn't want the same to happen to the Night Raiders. Tatsumi tries to tease her, but Chelsea warns him not to let his guard down around her. Meanwhile, Run notices Esdeath is becoming weaker as she continues searching for Tatsumi in the capital. Later that night, in a mine, some golem-shaped danger beasts attack the workers, and their unidentified controller prepares to head to the capital. The unidentified man who controls the danger beasts makes his way to a small shed in the forest, where he orders his beasts to attack and kill a couple having dinner. The next day, the Emperor warns Esdeath about the dangerous Night Raiders, and Esdeath promises to eliminate them once they are found. The Emperor also asks about Esdeath's recent lover, and she says she believes she'll be reunited with him. After the meeting, Prime Minister Honest talks to Esdeath. He's interested in the concept of love, which Esdeath's recent conquest has sparked in the Emperor. Honest tasks Esdeath with investigating the danger beasts ravaging the capital's outskirts, and promises to give her prize money for her warriors fighting in the north. Two merchants are attacked by danger beasts near the capital's gates, but Bowles from the Jaeger team quickly takes them down. Wave and Seryu comfort the scared merchants. Esdeath arrives and freezes all the remaining danger beasts. Back at the palace, Bowles prepares tea for Wave and Karome. Wave expresses annoyance at the merchants for shunning Bowles, but Bowles says he's used to it since he was once feared as a monster. Bowles' wife and daughter then arrive, and Bowles happily plays with his family as Wave and Karome watch in admiration. At the Night Raiders' hideout, Tatsumi trains with Incursio and Sue's supervision, learning to find weak points before striking. Sue demonstrates his abilities, and Tatsumi reassures him that the others see him as a comrade, not just an object. Akame summons the Night Raiders back to the hideout to discuss the danger beasts terrorizing the capital. Najenda briefs them on the situation and says they need to help suppress the beasts to save the people. Chelsea tries to talk them out of helping the capital, but Tatsumi reminds her that if they don't act, the people will suffer more. This changes Chelsea's mind. Sue makes a joke about Tatsumi's flyer being down, making everyone laugh. Chelsea later complains to Najenda that Tatsumi is too soft and worries he may lose his life. In the capital, Esdeath is informed by Run that the Danger Beasts were once humans, and it seems a stylish copycat is conducting dangerous experiments. Esdeath concludes that someone is behind the beasts. Meanwhile, Seryu and Koro destroy some danger beasts they find in the forest, and the unidentified man behind the beasts retreats after witnessing the destruction of his creations. During a night scout, Tatsumi asks Lub about his fondness for Najenda. Lub reveals that when he was a spoiled noble's son, he fell in love with Najenda at first sight. He joined the military and the night raid to become strong enough for Najenda to notice him, and he still hopes to make her fall in love with him. Tatsumi activates his Incursio armor and goes down the mountain to search for danger beasts. Coincidentally, Esdeath spots Tatsumi from her air manta and lands to reunite with him. Before Tatsumi can use the danger beast to escape, Esdeath takes them all out and faces Tatsumi. While Esdeath is overjoyed to see Tatsumi, he is not happy about it. Lub senses an intruder approaching, possibly an apprentice of Dr. Stylish. Esdeath wraps herself around Tatsumi and asks what he's doing there. Tatsumi says he's been training and fighting danger beasts. Esdeath is pleased to see his muscles have grown stronger and encourages him to keep getting stronger. Esdeath senses the one behind the danger beast and commands him to come out. The man reveals an Imperial relic, Shambara, and uses it to teleport Esdeath and Tatsumi to an island in the southeastern part of the capital. After being teleported to the island, Tatsumi asks Esdeath to pinch him to confirm he's not dreaming. Esdeath kisses him instead, then explains the concept of Imperial relics to Tatsumi, who pretends not to understand. Esdeath summons an ice mountain to take them high into the sky, where they can see the ocean. As Esdeath hugs Tatsumi, a giant danger beast appears. Esdeath uses her ice powers to attack and defeat the beast. After the fight, Tatsumi and Esdeath take a break under a coconut tree. Tatsumi gets carried away in their conversation, but Esdeath is too busy drawing them together to notice. They spend the rest of the day peacefully on the island. At night, Esdeath asks Tatsumi what he would like to do now that they're alone on the island. Tatsumi tells her not to get any ideas. After searching the island, they find a purple glowing hole in the ground that may be a way to get back to the capital. In the meantime, Esdeath wants to know more about Tatsumi, so he tells her a made-up story. Tatsumi then asks Esdeath to tell him about her past. Esdeath shares that she used to be the daughter of a chief in a small northern settlement that hunted danger beasts. Her father taught her to be strong and survive. After her father's death, Esdeath joined the military and worked her way up to become the strongest in the empire. When Tatsumi asks if she was fighting the Northerners for revenge, Esdeath tells him she wasn't. She just likes killing people, as it's in her nature. Tatsumi asks Esdeath about her Imperial relic. Esdeath explains that she drank the blood of a dragon beast that controls ice to obtain her relic, which most drinkers would go insane from. Tatsumi realizes he can't turn Esdeath against the Empire, as she is a born killer who believes in strength. The son of the Prime Minister, who had teleported them to the island, wakes up and releases the spell, attacking his whore for speaking badly of her father. As Esdeath rushes to find an air manta to leave, Tatsumi considers running away, but then calls out to Esdeath. When she arrives, she finds Tatsumi has escaped. Dejected, Esdeath promises to meet Tatsumi again, but Tatsumi knows their next meeting will be on the battlefield. Chelsea, disguised as a maid, sneaks into a corrupt politician's house and uses her poison needles to kill him. Wave and Seryu from the Jaeger force arrive, but Chelsea has already transformed into a cat and is playing with the politician's cat. After returning to the hideout, Chelsea reports her successful mission. The team teases Tatsumi for his night with Esdeath, and Najenda, their young boss, returns to discuss Esdeath. Tatsumi is surprised by Najenda's young age, and Akame warns him not to ask a woman about her age. Elsewhere, Seryu captures and eats 3 food thieves, which Wave finds disturbing. He realizes how rotten the capital has become, but promises to carry out his duties as a soldier. Najenda explains their new mission at the Night Raiders' hideout. She talks about a religious group called the Path of Peace, who preach peace and good deeds. However, as they have gained many followers, there are rumors of an uprising against the Empire. Najenda says they can use this uprising to their advantage and manipulate the people to bring down the Empire. Tatsumi protests this, but Najenda tells him there's nothing they can do to prevent it. She explains that the revolution has planned a 3-pronged attack to overwhelm the Empire and defeat them in one battle, despite the Empire's strength. Najenda also points out their allies on the map. In the end, they decide to bring down the Empire from the middle. The Westerners will get back the land the Empire stole from them in return for helping the Revolutionary Army. Najenda then mentions that the assistant to the leader of the Path of Peace is a spy from Honest, and his mission is to drug the people and stop the uprising. This cannot be allowed to happen, or many people may overdose. Before going to Kiarok, where the Path of Peace's headquarters is, they need to take down at least 2 members of the Jaeger team, Bowles and Kurome. Tatsumi clenches his fist and promises to carry out his mission swiftly. Chelsea starts to like Tatsumi more as she watches him. Esdeath hears Akame and Mine, members of the Night Raiders, talking on the streets. She takes the bait and rallies her people to prepare for a fight with the raiders. They quickly get on their horses and ride out of the capital. Two spies at the capital's entrance send a messenger bird to inform Najenda of Esdeath's approach. Najenda instructs Akame and Mine to attract as much attention as possible. They change into swimsuits and play around in the river. Esdeath and her people stop in a nearby town. They realize the Night Raiders lured them out, hoping to trap them, but now they have the upper hand. Kurome, Wave, and Bowls will go after Akame, while Esdeath, Seryu, and Run will go after Najenda. On their way to the canyon, Bowls gets worried about the Night Raiders' strength, but Wave reassures him. They approach a suspicious scarecrow, and Mine shoots at Kurome from above. Kurome dodges the shot and realizes where Mine is. Sue comes out of the scarecrow and throws Wave into the air. Najenda and the Night Raiders emerge from hiding to face the remaining two enemies. Bowls remembers his family and promises not to die. Kurome summons the corpses of 8 strong people and a bone golem to fight the Night Raiders. Akame lunges at her sister Kurome, hoping to strike her first. As Akame lands on the head of the bone golem to attack Kurome, one of their old friends, Natala, appears from the golem and defends Kurome. Akame is shocked by how far Kurome is willing to go, and she loses focus for a moment, allowing Kurome to hit her. As Akame falls, Bowls activates his relic to incinerate her, but Tatsumi swoops in with his Incursio armor to save her. After dealing with Akame, Kurome orders her golem, Destigul, to create a bomb and fire it at the enemies. The bomb creates a crater in the ground. Lubbock, who is hiding, prepares to fight for Najenda's sake. Sue holds the golem down and tells Najenda to stay out of danger while he deals with it. Mine tries to snipe Kurome, but Natala catches her before she can fire. Kurome then manipulates a gunslinger corpse to fight Mine. Tatsumi also has to fight 2 new corpses, an ape-man and a cloaked assassin with a flexible body. Akame tries to hit Bowls, but another one of Najenda's dead colleagues appears to protect him. The colleague throws Leone off course and uses a whip on her. As the battle continues, Kurome introduces all her toys to the enemies: Doya the gunslinger, Vol the bodyguard, the ape-man, Hentar the cloaked assassin, Rock the Imperial guard, and Destigul the golem. Kurome promises to reveal her final trump card later. Leone figures out Rock's trick and holds his whip. Najenda shows up and helps Leone fight Rock. Leone gets excited and forgets about Kurome, who takes advantage and slices off Leone's left arm. Leone uses her regenerative ability to stop the bleeding so she can keep fighting. Najenda orders Leone to go support Akame, while she holds off one of Kurome's fighters. Meanwhile, Esdeath notices something is wrong, as they haven't caught up to Najenda yet. Instead, they face some bandits, and Esdeath orders her team to deal with them quickly so they can continue their pursuit. Akame circles Bowls and his bodyguard, searching for a chance to strike. Bowls gives her an opportunity and uses his bodyguard as bait, but Akame sees through it and charges at him. Bowls dodges her attack, and Akame retreats to strategize. Bowls pauses the fight and asks Akame why she joined the Night Raid group. Akame says she has no regrets, as she joined to uphold her beliefs. Leone then shows up to join and protect Akame. Najenda continues fighting her former colleague, Rock, who uses his Earthshaker technique. Najenda quickly dodges it and uses her extendable arm against him, but it's not enough to bring him down. Najenda gets angry at Kurome's relic and punches Rock high into the air, placing him in the path of Destigul's fire, burning him to a crisp. Najenda then authorizes Sue to use his hidden ability against the golem. While attacking Tatsumi, Hentar gets distracted as he thinks he sees one of his comrades. He leaves the fight, but it's a trap set by Chelsea, who kills Hentar. Tatsumi thanks Chelsea for the help, and she runs back into the forest. Tatsumi then faces his next enemy and uses Incursio's power to punch the enemy to oblivion. Kurome is resting and worrying about Wave. When she notices her puppets have stopped moving, she picks up her sword to head back to the capital. Wave regains consciousness but is too weak from the fall to get back into the fight. Mine tries to sneak up on Kurome, but Kurome unleashes her secret weapon, the Kaiser Frog, which swallows Mine. Tatsumi arrives and confronts Kurome, but she leaves him to fight her old friend, Natala. Sue uses his hidden ability to transform into a Susanoo and slice Destigul into pieces. While Tatsumi fights Natala, Mine blows a hole in the frog's stomach and gets out. Najenda then joins them, and Kurome feels the urge to kill all 4 of them. Leone and Akame work together to take down Wool, but he shoots Leone's other hand with a hidden weapon. However, Leone still manages to break his relic. After Bull's explosion, Tatsumi, Najenda, and Sue realize Kurome has escaped with Natala. They assume Bowls is out of the fight. As for Leone and Akame, They are saved from the explosion, but Leone faints from exhaustion. Surprisingly, Bowles survives the explosion with minor injuries. He had substituted himself with Wool just before the explosion to save himself. Bowles remembers a peaceful dinner with Esdeath and his colleagues, and he promises to have that dinner with them again. Bowles then finds a little girl crying by a tree. He approaches her to comfort her and fix her injured leg. While he's distracted, Chelsea, who had transformed into Bowles, punctures his artery, leaving him for dead. Bowles accepts his fate, but wishes to see his family one more time. Chelsea reverts to her normal self and tells Lubbock to find reinforcements while she searches for and kills Karome. Lubbock warns her to wait, but Chelsea assures him and transforms into Bowles to look for Karome in the woods. Karome is resting in the forest, eating snacks. She thinks back to her past with Akame during their assassin training. Karome used to be the weaker one, and Akame would always protect her and kill the danger beasts they faced. Eventually, Karome decided to learn to kill on her own. After passing a difficult challenge, the sisters became full assassins, but their masters separated them to prevent them from becoming too dependent on each other. Karome was then taken to a lab and experimented on, which led to her taking the power-enhancing drug. At the Night Raiders camp, Leone gets her hand reattached, and Negenda reminds her that Sue's regeneration is even more powerful. Mine screams in pain as Sue fixes her hand. Lubbock arrives and tells the group about Chelsea's situation. Chelsea, now transformed into Bowles, finds Karome and greets her. Having learned how to relate to the Jagers from Tatsumi, Chelsea waits for the right moment to strike, suspecting Karome has a hidden power. At the Night Raiders camp, Mine tells the group about Karome's super-fast reflexes, likely due to the drug she's been taking. Meanwhile, Chelsea, disguised as Bowles, escorts Karome, but Karome suddenly collapses. Chelsea punctures Karome's vital organ and leaves her, but makes the mistake of not cutting off her head. Chelsea reflects on her past. She used to work as a maid and killed the viceroy who hunted slaves, gaining praise and starting her journey as an assassin. As Chelsea turns to leave, Karome regains consciousness and vows to kill her. Chelsea throws a smoke bomb and tries to escape, but Karome summons Natala and Doya to chase her. They catch up to Chelsea in a field of flowers, and Natala decapitates her. A few days later, Tatsumi and Akame sneak into the capital and find Chelsea's severed head hung on a pole in the town square. Tatsumi returns to the night raid camp, sleeps in, and then joins the others for their next mission. Meanwhile, Esdeath and the Jagers arrive in Kurok and report to advisor Bolic. Esdeath asks Bolic to show her the people who have been spying on them. The Rakshasa Demons, a group of experts in body control. One of them demonstrates their strength to Seryu, who underestimates them. Esdeath realizes how important Bolic's organization is to the Prime Minister. Karome, wounded, makes her way back to the capital and is treated. Wave is distraught seeing her condition. After resting, Karome begs Esdeath to let her fight, and Esdeath deems her ready. Wave finds Karome in her room and asks why she keeps trying to fight, even when not at full strength. Karome explains that as an assassin, if she's found lacking, she'll be silently disposed of. Wave tries to tell Karome it will be okay if they tell their boss, but Karome knows the harsh reality that as an assassin, she'll be silently disposed of if found lacking. Tatsumi and Mine arrive in Kurok, and Tatsumi manages to get them ice cream without attracting unwanted attention. Mine explains that the people are kept happy and well-fed, so the Prime Minister can profit from the gold mining. Lubbock is silently stalked by two of the Rakshasa Demons, Sten and Mez, who wait for nightfall to attack him. At night, Akame walks the graveyard with two guards, when Ibra, one of the Rakshasa Demons, shows up and kills the guards. Akame recognizes him and gets angry when he drops the guards' heads. Ibra dodges all of Akame's attacks, as he can control his body's movements. Sten and Mez attack Lubbock, and he plays dead to lure them away. But when the woman he was supposed to meet arrives, Sten and Mez kill her. Lubbock reactivates his heartbeat to draw their attention. Lubbock shows off his amazing skills against Sten and Mez, who underestimate him. Meanwhile, Akame surrenders her sword Murasame to Ibra, but it curses his hand. Akame seizes the opportunity to slice off his hand, and the poison kills him. Run then arrives and flies away after getting the information he needs for Esdeath. Lubbock fights against Sten and Mez. He tricks Sten into running into a trap, and the wires strangle Sten's heart, killing him. Mez shows up to face Lubbock, but Lubbock has set up wire traps around the area. Mez manipulates her sweat to make the wires heavy, distracting Lubbock. She then punches him to the ground, but the knives Lubbock threw earlier boomerang back and stab her in the back, allowing Lubbock to finish her off. Lubbock then runs away. Meanwhile, Mine and Tatsumi are bickering when the leader of the Path of Peace shows up. He advises them to become a couple. Back at Bolic's building, a woman offers herself to him, but then the news of the Rakshasa Demons' deaths reaches Bolic and Esdeath. Esdeath promises to crush Negenda and her people in Kurok. The next day, the Jagers go out, with Seryu playing with the children. Wave and Suzuka, the last Rakshasa Demon, try to locate the Night Raid members, but Suzuka wants to stay under Esdeath's command. After playing with the kids, Seiryu promises to continue upholding justice. That night, Najenda holds a meeting with the Night Raid members. They are ordered to sneak into the Viceroy's palace during the Kurok festival and eliminate Viceroy Bolic to encourage the Revolutionary Army's invasion. Before the mission, Sue provides everyone with special food, and they quickly finish eating to prepare for the task ahead. During the festival, Suzuka and Seiryu spot Tatsumi and Mine in disguise and chase after them. Tatsumi and Mine flee to a dilapidated building, where they have a bickering argument. Seiryu then locates them and fuses with Koro, summoning her city justice detector. She shoots missiles at them, but Tatsumi senses them and escapes with Mine. Mine gets her pumpkin artillery ready, and Suzuka attacks them. Tatsumi fights Suzuka, while Mine faces Seiryu. Mine destroys Seiryu's warhead with her artillery, shocking Seiryu. Seiryu then insults Sheele and Chelsea's memory, angering Mine. Mine tries to shoot Seiryu's weak spots, but Seiryu powers up before Mine can destroy her core. Seiryu then catches up to Mine and beats her severely. Suzuka manages to stop Tatsumi, insulting his inexperience, but Tatsumi strengthens his resolve to stand a chance against her. At the Viceroy's palace, Sue and Leone fight Karome's guards, and Leone tries to punch Karome, but Wave arrives to defend her. Esdeath warns Bolic not to move from his throne, but Najenda tells her Bolic is probably dead. Tatsumi takes Suzuka to an abandoned building and collapses it on her, killing her. He then returns to find Mine, who has recovered, and shoots Seiryu and Koro, slicing them in half. Seiryu activates her self-destruct, and the explosion catches Mine, but Tatsumi saves her in time. Najenda has successfully eliminated Bolic, and Esdeath returns to her hideout. After Tatsumi saves her, Mine starts developing feelings for him and makes him promise to survive his battles, which he agrees to. In a meeting, Prime Minister Honest discusses the issue of viceroys defecting to the rebels. He assures the officials that he has a new special elite unit to handle the rebels, introducing his son Sura as the head of this new force. After the meeting, Wave and Karome are served food by Run. Wave complains about the new elite force, feeling that the remaining Jagers should be on the front lines. Karome asks for seconds, but collapses shortly after. Lubbock and Tatsumi sneak into the capital to observe the tight military presence around the palace, realizing it may pose a problem for their mission to meet the resistance. Meanwhile, Leone and Mine study the aqueducts, planning to use the careless construction to their advantage. Leone teases Mine about her feelings for Tatsumi. Akame, Najenda, and Sue give instructions to the rebels, with Akame hoping Tatsumi and Lubbock are doing well. Lubbock teases Tatsumi about his feelings for Mine, but they continue their mission. They meet a contact who tells them about her parents being imprisoned by the Prime Minister on false charges. When they reach the meeting house, they find it filled with dead rebels, and Sura appears, recognizing Tatsumi. Tatsumi attacks him, but is then confronted by the powerful Commander-in-Chief Budo and his Imperial relic, Adramelech. Tatsumi summons his Incursio armor to face Budo, while Lubbock is stopped by Sura and his men from helping Tatsumi. Esdeath destroys the remaining enemies before heading back to the capital. Lubbock tests Sura's teleportation powers, and Sura injects himself to create teleportation circles around the Empire, pursuing Lubbock. Tatsumi continues attacking Budo, but Budo pauses the fight to appreciate Tatsumi's discipline before shocking him with a hidden attack. Lubbock gets distracted, allowing Shura to kill their contact. Lubbock activates his wires, slicing Shura's hand and taking the Shambhala device. Shura reclaims it and sends Lubbock to an alternate dimension, but Lubbock traps Shura there as well and kills him. However, their bodies are then teleported thousands of feet in the air, and Lubbock falls to his death in front of the captured Tatsumi, who screams in pain upon seeing his friend's body. After hearing about Lubbock's death, the Prime Minister Honest mourns him for less than a minute before quickly moving on and making plans to publicly execute Tatsumi in order to send a message to the Revolutionary Army. Esdeath arrives and requests that she be the one to carry out Tatsumi's execution. Soon after, posters announcing Tatsumi's public execution are spread throughout the capital. After seeing the wanted posters, Mine immediately wants to rescue Tatsumi, but Akame stops her, deciding to go with her instead to prevent a suicide mission. Leone also joins them. Najenda informs them of the plan to rescue Tatsumi, as he is an integral member of Night Raid. Esdeath visits Tatsumi in his dungeon, begging him to join her and avoid execution, but he refuses. Esdeath decides to carry out the execution herself. Wave is confused by this, as he doesn't understand Esdeath's love for Tatsumi. Karome explains her own desire to kill her sister out of love, and Wave keeps quiet. Karome notices her hair falling out, indicating her days are numbered. Najenda discusses the security weaknesses around the execution with the girls, and they pay respects to Lubbock before proceeding with the rescue mission. The young emperor hosts Tatsumi's public execution, leaving Esdeath and Budo to carry it out. Before Esdeath can kill Tatsumi, Mine shoots the execution spot with her pumpkin artillery. Najenda and the others arrive to rescue Tatsumi. Budo attacks the air manta with lightning, and the battle begins. Akame sneaks into the palace to find and fight her sister Karome. Mine and Leone fight Budo, with Leone forcing openings for Mine's pumpkin. When Budo blocks the shot, Leone is paralyzed, leaving Mine vulnerable. However, Mine allows herself to be thrown around, so her pumpkin can charge up to be more powerful. Akame finds Tatsumi's sword in the Prime Minister's office and recovers it. Esdeath traps Sue in a ball of ice, but Najenda activates Sue's hidden power, the Magatama manifestation, allowing him to free himself and attack Esdeath. The battle between Mine and Budo intensifies, with Mine getting hit multiple times. Budo charges up his hidden power, the solid shooter, but Mine unleashes a devastating attack from her pumpkin artillery, destroying Budo and his relic, winning the fight. Afterwards, Mine collapses. Akame arrives and cuts Tatsumi free, and he rushes to catch Mine before she hits the ground. Seeing the mission is complete, Najenda advises the team to withdraw. Just as the Night Raid team is about to withdraw, Esdeath freezes time and space and attacks Sue, destroying his core. Najenda uses her life force to power Sue's core again, but Esdeath tries to stop them from escaping. Sue holds off Esdeath's attacks, allowing the team to retreat. On the way back, Mine asks Tatsumi to put her down near a river, knowing she is dying. She confesses her love to Tatsumi and shares a final kiss with him before passing away. After returning to the hideout, the Night Raid members mourn their fallen comrades, with Tatsumi getting emotional. Najenda calls them back to order to prepare for their next mission. Najenda mourns the sacrifice of her Imperial relic, Susanoo, and Tatsumi pays his respects to Mine. Meanwhile, chaos erupts in the capital as citizens rebel against the leadership. Wave tries to stop them, but is stopped by Run, who reveals his true goal of changing the Empire from within by joining the Jagers. Run asks Kuromi about her health, and she expresses her desire to settle the score with her sister Akami before being free. Esdeath is seen fighting and killing rebels outside the capital. The officials at the palace are panicking, and the young emperor falls into despair, but Honest reassures him. Kuromi coughs up blood and leaves the capital to find her sister Akame. Akame and Tatsumi witness the public execution of revolution spies, and Akame deciphers a message from her sister, indicating an old facility in the capital's outskirts. Akame prepares to go meet her sister alone, despite Tatsumi's offer to accompany her. She puts on her coat and heads to the outskirts. Akame finds Kuromi at the dilapidated facility, and the two sisters sit together, reminiscing about their past. They had reunited at this same facility years ago, and things were good until Akame betrayed the Empire to join Night Raid. Kuromi admits to being miserable after Akame left, and she promises to take Akame's life and add her to her collection. Akame unsheathes her sword, promising Kuromi that she won't go down easily. Meanwhile, Wave is worried about Kuromi, and Run tells him Kuromi's likely location. Kuromi summons Natala and Doya to help her fight the injured Akame. As they clash swords, a giant experimental danger beast surfaces, forcing the sisters to work together to defeat it. Once the beast is down, Kuromi continues fighting Akame, summoning soldiers to help her, but Akame destroys the soldiers and goes for a fatal blow on Kuromi. Just then, Wave arrives in his Grand Chariot relic and saves Kuromi, then attacks Akame. Tatsumi arrives and stops Wave, allowing the sisters to continue their fight. Akame ends up stabbing Kuromi. Wave is saddened, wishing there was another way. Akame places Kuromi in Wave's hands, and he leaves, asking Akame what they are truly fighting for. The next day, Honest takes the young emperor to the Empire's basement to show him their last resort. After burying Kuromi, Wave questions his loyalty to the Empire, feeling he has lost his life's purpose. At the Night Raid hideout, the team prepares for their final mission to eradicate the enemy of the Empire. Najenda and the remaining Night Raiders break into the palace through an underground passageway. They run into Run, who opens his Imperial relic and attacks them. Run explains that his village was wiped out by the Empire, and he has been waiting for a chance to expunge the evil from its core. Leone takes on Run alone to allow the others to pass. Tatsumi, Akame, and Najenda rush to the Emperor's hall. The young Emperor is still being manipulated by the wicked Prime Minister, Honest. When Tatsumi tries to explain the truth, Honest summons the legendary Imperial relic, Shikutazer, a giant mech that can destroy large areas. The Emperor, under Honest's influence, unleashes Shikutazer, destroying part of the Empire. Tatsumi is distraught to see his city being destroyed, while Honest encourages the Emperor to keep using the powerful relic. Tatsumi tries to reason with the Emperor, but Honest continues manipulating him. The Emperor attacks Tatsumi, but Wave saves him. Wave and Tatsumi work together to take down the Shikutazer mech. Remembering Susanoo's teachings, Tatsumi finds the weak point and attacks it, but it's not enough. Tatsumi then unlocks the true power of Incursio and crashes into the mech's weakest point, destroying it. However, the effort costs Tatsumi his life. As Tatsumi dies, Esdeath arrives, saddened to see the love of her life has perished. Although saddened by Tatsumi's death, Esdeath fights off attacking rebels. Akame challenges her to a final battle between relic wielders. Esdeath gains the upper hand at first, but Akame pauses the fight to condemn Esdeath's views. Esdeath tells Akame to prove her words with strength. Akame resorts to her last option, slashing Esdeath's hand with the cursed Murasame sword. This unlocks Akame's hidden ability, allowing her to fight Esdeath at supersonic speeds. Esdeath uses her Mahapadma ability to freeze time, but Akame evades the attack. As the curse encapsulates Esdeath's body, she laughs and praises Akame's strength. Esdeath uses her last strength to get close to Tatsumi's body, encasing them both in an iceberg before it bursts. Honest tries to escape, but Leon catches up to him. Honest uses his Imperial relic to nullify Leon's, leaving her unable to heal. He shoots her, but Leon manages to beat him down and destroy his face. Akame and Leone say their goodbyes, hoping not to see each other again. That night, as the capital celebrates a new beginning, Leone sneaks off to an alleyway to die peacefully from her gunshot wounds, passing away as a hero with a smile on her face. The citizens witness the execution of the Emperor, who accepts his fate. Wave and Run visit Kurome's grave one last time before leaving for the capital. Najenda and the New Order gift Tatsumi's village with riches, though the villagers still believe he and his friends are alive. Akame takes one last look at Tatsumi's artifact before leaving. Najenda says her goodbyes, and Akame thanks her for letting her join the night raid, shaking her hand before heading off alone. The series showcases the sacrifices made by veterans to create a better world for us to live in.